Hello everyone, welcome back. Today is day 23 of my journey to learn Japanese, and this series of live streams is all about documenting my progress at learning Japanese, having started as a complete beginner. And my goal for today is to continue expanding my Japanese vocabulary, and I'm placing an emphasis on building listening comprehension skills. And that doesn't really mean that I'm going to be listening to like native Japanese audio where they're just talking in whole paragraphs. I'm not at that level yet. However, by learning vocabulary, uh, well, there's a couple of ways you can go about it, right? You can learn kanji, you can learn correct pitch intonation, or you can just say, I'm gonna um, learn like how to write this word, kind of familiarize yourself with it, and so that when you do hear it, you pick it up. And so I'm going to be using lingocommand.com. That's the resource we're using today. And if we go to the vocabulary section and we go to, for example, months of the year, we then get this table. And on the left column, we've got the months of the year in English. On the right column, we've got them in Japanese. We've got these audio buttons here
2月、1月、3月、
that show us how to pronounce the words. And if we press here, if we select quiz, we then get this quiz where the questions are being asked in English and we submit our answers in Japanese. Now, of course, for months of the year, there's like kind of this intrinsic ordering, right? Starting in January, ending in December. And so if you press random ordering, that scrambles the order in which the questions are asked, which kind of keeps you on your toes and makes sure that you really know this vocabulary inside out. Another thing that I like to do is, currently we are submitting our answers in Romaji. So that's just, writing our answers using the European alphabet. So for example, July is Shichigatsu. But if I write hiragana and katakana, we're now going to expect our answers in that format. So one thing we can do is we can say we're going to handwrite our answers. And so then if we press here, it's going to expect the answer. Firstly, we can draw inside of this box here. And so then here we can write our answers in hiragana and katakana. So it was shichigatsu. And that would be using hiragana. This is shi. And this is chi. Then this is ka. And if we add these two strokes on top, this is called dakuten. That ka becomes a ga, right? K goes to G when you apply these two marks. And then we just need a tsu at the end. So this is tsu in hiragana. Shi, chi, ga, tsu. Now, also, how did I know that this was Shichigatsu, right? So July is the 7th month of the year. And so you start off by, you need to know how to say 7 in Japanese. So there are two ways to do that. You can say nana, or you can say shichi. This is the most popular way of saying 7, nana. It's like kind of the common one. Shichi is used less often. And for months of the year, if there are multiple options, the less popular one is used for some reason. That's how I'm at least noticing the pattern. And so shichi is the variant of 7 that we're going to use, and then you just stick gatsu at the end. So you're basically just saying the 7th month. That's how you say July in Japanese. So let's remove this little bit of text at the bottom, submit our answer. And so let's take a look. That's a match. Now you may have noticed that there's a bullet point here, and that's great and all, but it's not ideal. I'm also the software developer behind this project, and so I'm just gonna make a quick code change to basically get rid of this bullet point. It was actually like a useful feature that I've recently added. For example, if we go to numbers and we submit our answer here for 0. So 0, for example, one way you can say it is maru. This is ma. and then this is uru. If we submit our answer, there are 3 ways of saying 0 in Japanese. And so that's why there are 3 bullet points here. And so in this case, it makes sense to put the bullet points, and then you can say, okay, I submitted this answer. That would then be correct. However, like I said, it's not ideal that in the case where there's only one answer. So for example, if I go back to months of the year, and I submit my answer in hiragana and katakana, let's say we apply random ordering. So this would be roku gatsu. We get this bullet point here as well. So I'm going to make a super quick code change to make sure that's fixed. So first order of business is to spin up a local version of the website. So we do that by running npm run dev. And then, let's see. That's loading at the moment. Great. So here we have our local copy of the website. And then if I go to months of the year, for example, that's where we saw the issue. If I press hiragana and katakana and I handwrite my answers, I'm just trying to recreate the bug, right? I don't actually want this bullet point here. It's distracting because there's only one option. And so if we go to our code base and we look for list, something like list. So the component we're looking at is called handwriting modal. I think it's called like list disk. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we've got, so for example, if I put here hello, you can see here hello. So we're in the correct part of the code base. And so all we got to do now is wrap this in parentheses and say if correct answer dot length exceeds 1, then we render it, else we don't, right? Bullet point is gone here, but the bullet point remains for the section for numbers. Yeah, perfect. So let's quickly submit this code change. Fix ensuring bullet point is only visible in handwriting modal when there is one option. When there are multiple options. So we're going to just submit this, and then we'll also push that to the development branch. So then in 2 minutes, it's going to have the correct code change in production. In the meantime, let's go back to actually studying this Japanese months of the year. So we'll close this and we'll continue here. So as you can see, this is a match. And then we'll move on to September, right? So September is the 9th month of the year. And in order to say this in Japanese, you first gotta know how to say 9. So you can say Q, or you can say Ku. There are 2 ways. When you're just counting like 1 through 10, you use Q. And for some reason, when there are multiple options for months of the year, you're going to go with the option that's not used when just counting. And so ku is what we'll use. And then we just take gatsu at the end. So September is ku gatsu. So we zoom out. And it's a little bit warm in here, so I'm just going to turn off my radiator. So ku gatsu in hiragana would be written like this. Ku gatsu. Fantastic. February would be what's the second month of the year? 2 is ni. So it's going to be ni gatsu. This is how you would write ni. This is how you write. Let's write that more neatly. Ga, right? That's ka with dakuten on top to become ga. And then this is tsu. And hopefully by now, if I refresh the page, so that's gonna scramble the order of the questions again. But if we submit, yeah, that bullet point is gone, which I just think looks a lot neater. So 4, right? Because April is the 4th month of the year. You can say, in Japanese, to say 4, you can say yon or you can say shi. And for months of the year, use shi. So it's gonna be, and the way that I remember this is yon is used for counting, like for, 1 through 10. And for months of the year, if there are multiple options, you always go with the other one. So April is just shi ga tsu. And so writing that in hiragana, this is shi. This is ga. And this is tsu. Great. November is the 11th month. To say 11 in Japanese, well, ju is 10. And then ichi is 1. To say 11, you just say 10 plus 1, ju ichi. And then you just take gatsu at the end, because we're not actually saying 11, we're saying the 11th month, November. And so if we got to write this out, this is shi, and when you apply dakuten on top, it becomes ji. And then this half-sized yu indicates that we're looking at a hiragana yun combination, right? This is not ji, yu, it's ju. It's a blended syllable because this yu is half-sized. Then we just take another full-sized yu here. And then we do i. This is i. This is chi. And then we're left with the one that we've written multiple times now. Ga tsu. Ju ichi ga tsu. There we go. February is, we did this one earlier. I think we did September as well. Let's just go straight to October. So that's just going to be ju ga tsu. Right? October is the 10th month. 10 is ju. We spoke earlier about why this would be ju, using the yun combination. And we're now very familiar with how to write gatsu in hiragana. Job done. We covered July earlier in this video as well. So let's go straight to August. It's the 8th month of the year. How do you say 8 in Japanese? It's hachi. And so, if we zoom out a bit, Hachigatsu is August in Japanese. So let's write that down. This would be hachi, and then this is gatsu. December is the 12th month of the year. To say 12, you just say 10 plus 2. 10 is ju. 2 is ni. So 10, 2, that's how you would say 12. So for example, in English, right? You use a different word for, in English, 12 is not 10, 2, but take, for example, 17. That is, in the word there, we've got 7 and we've got teen, which is like 10. So it's a similar concept going on, more or less, in Japanese. To explain why 12 is 10, 2. Then we just take gatsu at the end to talk to, that's the 12th month. So this is going to be ji, and then half-sized yu, full-sized u, and then ni, and gatsu. Job done. What is June? That's Rokugatsu. This is Ro. That's Ku. And then the handwriting could be better here. Let's try and write this a bit more neatly. There we go. March is the third month of the year. So we just write sun and then gatsu at the end. Sun is 3 in Japanese. So what is sun? Sa. Sa is written like that. I'll try and draw that a bit more neatly. There we go. That's sa. This is n. And then go back to our familiar 2 hiragana for gatsu. One thing to point out there was this is how you would write sa if it's typed. This is the more commonly used handwritten version. So I just wanted to point that out. January is Ichigatsu, right? Ichi is 1. So let's quickly write that in Romaji, and then write the same in hiragana. So this is Ichi, and then we have Gatsu like this. May is the 5th month of the year. 5 is go in Japanese, so then May would be go gatsu. So this is ko, and then when you apply dakuten, K goes to G, so this becomes go, and then it's the same thing as always. Ga, and then tsu. This ga is a bit messy, but it will do. So that's months of the year. Why don't we now move on to numbers? I know I covered this yesterday, but I think it's good to kind of cement this knowledge. So when it comes to numbers, there's something interesting to point out, right? So if we have, like, let's make a table. We've got English here, and we've got Japanese here. So when you go past 10 in both of these languages, so for example, 20, 30, 40, 50, all those words are basically like combinations of numbers you've already heard. So 50 combines like 5 and, well, you put this T at the end and you get 50. But 100 is like a new word, right? 100. Same with 1,000. But 10,000, well, you've heard 10 before, you've heard 1,000 before, it's not really new, but 1,000,000 is. And so is 1,000,000,000. And Japanese is kind of the same, except they don't go in the same like increments here. So 100, that's where it's the same. It's 100. And then 1000, that's 1,000. So far it's all the same. But then you have man, or ichiman, and that means 10,000. So they actually just have a new word for 10,000. And then the next one up is oku, which means, and I gotta zoom out for this one, it means 100 million, as far as I'm aware. No, it is 100 million. And so it's good to have these in your mind. And so then when we want to say 10,000, you would just write man. But there's one exception here, right? So if I want to say, for example, 20,000, you say ni and then man. So this is 2, that's 10,000. 2 times 10,000 is 20,000, job done. But for example, in English, you would say, You can say 1,000 or 1,000. In Japanese, they insist that you say the 1, so it's 1,000. For the case where it's only 1,000, right? If it's 2,000, you don't need to say 1,000. So this should be ichiman should be the answer here. So if we can use the pen tool to kind of drag this down a bit, and then we can draw our answer again. So this is I, this is chi, kind of looks like a 5 cheetahs, and then man, so this is ma, and then this is the n, ichiman. Well done. What is 4? So 4, there are two ways to write this. You have yon, and then you've got shi. When you're counting like up to 10, you just use yon, but in some other cases, like for example, the 4th month of the year, April, you would use shi gatsu, you know. So the first one would be, this is yo, this is an n. Let's write that a bit better. There we go, that's an n. And then the other one is just this, shi. And this is actually another case where I'm thinking, oh, this is a bit of a bug, isn't it? This looks off to me. So I think it might actually be worth making a quick code change to fix this. So when you say, oh, my drawing matches, you can choose between it matches the first or the second. I've submitted both, but let's just say the top one. It doesn't really matter. But what I don't like is that when you submit your answer, it's showing like this. So I think we're again going to have to spin up a local copy of the website to kind of clean this issue up. So let's go to numbers. Then we'll look at 4 and we say we're gonna handwrite our answers. And I don't really want to see the stroke order here. So let's see, render character. Hiragana, let's see. Katakana. What about kana? So this is interesting. So I've just noticed like this kind of non-ideal part of the website. I think if I ensure that this part is not used, and false, this will then show it in this neat format. So I just need to be able to see like, am I in the vocabulary section or am I in the handwriting, or in the hiragana or katakana section. So let's see, where's handwriting modal used? Okay, so this is a bit tricky because I really want to distinguish between, I'm sure there's some words in Japanese where it's just one kana, and there's only like one allowed answer. And so what I want to do is I want to clearly distinguish between these two cases. So I'm just gonna see where this component is used. We're looking at the handwriting modal, and it's used in the quiz element component. It's tricky. Is open question word. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll make a note of this and come back to it later, just because I don't want to take up any more of y'all's time. So I'll just make a super quick note and take a screenshot of this so I can fix it for later. In any case, our answer for 4 was, there are two ways to say 4 in Japanese. It's yon or shi, right? And so the first way you would write it in hiragana like this. So this is yon, and then this is en. The other option is shi like this. And please excuse this image here. I'll clean that up next time. But our drawing matches, right? Our answer is correct. We wrote both, but let's say that we submitted this. And so now we can go to 0. So 0, there are 3 ways to say this in Japanese. You can say 0, you can say maru, or you can say rei. Rei. In this first option, it's a loan word, right? It's just like how it is in English. And so in order to write this, you're not going to write this in hiragana. You're going to use it in katakana, the script for loan words. And so this is se. And then when you apply this dakuten marks, S goes to Z, so this becomes ze. And then ro is written like that. So that's the first option. The second one is maru. So maru is just a Japanese word. So you're going to write it in hiragana. Like so. Maru. And then the third one is rei. And this is re. And then this is I. So this would be rei together. Let's submit our answer. Okay, so the ordering is a little bit different, right? But that is clearly a match. So is this one. And then this line here matches with this. Actually, it doesn't. Look at that. I wrote ro instead of ru, which is a silly mistake. Yeah, let's be super strict and just say that doesn't match, just so that I get out of the habit of making that mistake. Well, I kind of want to reiterate here. So this is ro, and it looks very similar, but when you add the squiggle at the end, it's ru. So it's very important to be able to distinguish those two clearly. In any case, 6 in Japanese is roku, right? So based on our previous discussion, we now definitely know how to write ro. And then this is ku. If we submit our answers, this is roku. Great. 10 is ju. This is shi in Japanese, and when you add dakuten on top, shi becomes ji. This is yu, but it's half-sized. And when you see a half-sized ya, yu, or yo, you know you're dealing with something called a hiragana yun combination. So this G and U becomes a blended syllable, ju. Then we just need to add one more U at the end. And we can see that this is a match, so we can submit that and then go on to 9. So 9 is Q. It's the most common way of writing it. The second way is Ku. So let's write both. Let's start with the most common one. Or when I say common, like this is what you'll use when you're counting 1 through 10. This is used in other cases. So for example, September is the 9th month of the year. And so you would say kugatsu, like that, kugatsu. So Q is presumably, it's going to be another yun combination, right? So this would be ki. This is a half-sized yu, but I gotta write it a little bit lower like this. And so this half-sized yu with this ki forms a yun combination, Q, like a blended syllable. You basically drop the I here, so this ki becomes just a K, and then with the U at the end, Q. And then you just need one more additional U, because as you can see in the romaji here, there are 2 U's. So this is my first, wait, I'm making this a bit complicated. That's the first answer. And then the second one, second way of saying 9 in Japanese would be ku, like so. And this is another case of like this issue that I'll fix so that it's just a text instead of like a stroke order diagram. I'll have that fixed by the next live stream. But as you can see, this is a match. And one thing to point out, right? Do you see this little gap I wrote? Made? That's for when you write key by hand. When it's typed, there is no gap. It's kind of like the common pattern. Both are completely acceptable, right? But this is typed, usually, and then that one is handwritten. It's not quite the same, but you know, for example, in English, you can write A in these two ways. Slightly similar. So 1 billion, I spoke about this before, how in Japanese, so if we have English here, and I'm making this diagram because there's quite a bit going on here. So we have English here, Japanese there. When you're counting in English, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The third part comes from 3. 14, you know, you already hear the 4. And so same with 20, that has like that part from 2 in it. But when you get to 100, that's like a completely new word. So if we're basically going to look at 100 and beyond, in English, you need to introduce this new word called 100. When you go to 200, you're not really introducing any new words. You're using a combination of numbers, you know, that you've previously used. Then you need a new one when you get to 1,000. And then you're fine up to 999,999. And you get to 1,000,000. You need a new word. And you need a new word when you get to 1,000,000,000. In Japanese, it's kind of similar, but these steps are not exactly the same. So you have hyaku, which is 100. So far, so good. Sen, which is 1,000. Still same kind of situation. But then you have man, which is 10,000. And so that's where the languages start to differ. And then you have oku, which means 100 million. To say a billion in Japanese, you've got oku here, and then you've got ju here, which means 10. So if I go down a bit, essentially what we're saying is 10 times, what was it, 100 million? Indeed forms a billion. And so in Japanese, it's like, you don't say a billion, you say 10 lots of 100 million. But the question is, and this may be kind of like confusing, if why do we put the ju here, and why is it not, for example, oku ju, right? So let's pan down a bit more, because then the math still works, right? You have 100 million times 10, but in Japanese, if you want to multiply, you put the smaller number on the left. That one comes first. So with all that said, our answer should be ju oku. So this is shi. When you apply Dakuten on top, shi becomes ji. Then we have a half-sized yu, denoting a hiragana yun combination, which means this ya, yu, or yo that you have here, plus the previous one becomes one blended syllable. So this doesn't read ji, yu, it reads ju. But you see here, there are 2 U's, right? So this contributes 1 U, and then this is the second, and then this is O, and then this is Ku. That's our answer, Ju Oku. Great. 1 is just Ichi, like so. So if we were to write that, it would be written like so. 5 is Go, written like this. 100 is, we spoke about this earlier, it's Hyaku. This is Hi, and this is Ya, but it's half size, so this Hi and Ya becomes Hya. It's called a hiragana yun combination, and then we stick this ku at the end. Job done. What's a million? So a million is we're gonna have to use this kind of Japanese reasoning again. So we had this list here, right? Hyakyu is 100. Sen is 1,000. And then man is 10,000. Now, the correct answer is hyakuman, right? That's how you would say, this is how you would say a million in Japanese, because this is 100 times 10k. 100 times 10k is indeed a million, so it all works out. But you could argue, well, why is it not sen, right? That's 1k times 1k, which is also a million. Which is true, but in Japanese, from what I can see, the rule of thumb is the thing here on the right should be as large as possible so that it still fits into a million, right? So after man, the next unit is oku, which is like 100 million. That's never going to fit, right? So you put the 10,000 here, and then you just ask, what do you multiply 10,000 by to get a million? You get hyaku. And so that's why it's hyakuman and not sen. With all of that said, let's write that neatly in hiragana. So this is hi. This is hi. And then this is a half-sized ya. So these two together form a hiragana yun combination. One blended syllable. It's not hi and ya, it's hya. This is then ku. And then let's pan a bit to the right to make some more space. Hyaku is 100, and then we just need 10,000, which was man. So this is ma, and then this is n. So that is our answer. Let's take a look. That's a match. That's a match. That's a match. Great. We had that list before, if you remember. Let me zoom out a bit. 1,000 was sen. If you write that in hiragana, this is sen. This is n. Job done. Next one is 3, which is san in Japanese. You would write sa like this. There's a gap when you handwrite it. When you type it, there isn't, as a rule of thumb. So when you see the answer, it won't have this gap here, but that's fine. You can see that that's a match, so we'll move on to the next one. 2 is ni. If you write that in hiragana, it's like that. And I've got this stroke order diagram here. I'll write a code change to kind of clean that up, but you could clearly see that also match. 100,000. Okay, let's think this through. So in Japanese, if we make this table again, in English, when you're counting 1 through 10, those are all distinct sounds. So it's 11 and 12. But 13 kind of uses 3 that we've seen earlier. 14 uses 4. 20 uses the 2, etc. When you get to 100, all of a sudden you've got a new sound, right? So 100. Then you're fine up to 999. And then at 1,000, you need a new word in English. And you're fine up to 999,999. Then when you get to a million, you need a new word. Million. Then you need another new word at a billion. Japanese is kind of similar, but these, like where you need the new word is not quite the same. So hyaku is 100. So far so good. Sen is 1,000, 1k. Still the same, great. But man is 10k. And then oku is 100 million. So I'm putting k here just to make this like fit on the page, but 10k is 10,000. So if we zoom out a bit, in order to say 100,000 in Japanese, you would say 10 lots of 10k, which would be 10万. Because 10 times 10k is 100k, but you might be asking yourself, why is it not, for example, 100 times 1k? That would make way more sense. But the way Japanese works is, here on the right, you put the largest unit possible. that fits into 100,000. So 10K still fits in 100,000. And so the 10K must be here, and then you just ask what do you need to multiply it by in order to get there. And so that's why in Japanese, 100,000 is juman and not hyakusen. So this is shi. Add dakuten to make it ji. Half-sized yu. This forms a hiragana yun combination called ju. Then we need one more yu, and then we just write down ma. Job done. Juman. Juman. 7. Well, there are two ways to write that. The first is nana, and the second is shichi. Let's try both. So nana would be, wait, let's do that in the correct stroke order. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not. So we just repeat it again to get nana. And then shichi would be, this is shi, and this is chi. Trying to write that a little bit more neatly. But yeah, we can see that that's a match. I wrote both of them, but let's just say that I submitted the first one. 8 is hachi. Ha is written like this. Let's do that a bit more neatly. And then chi kind of looks like a 5. Job done. 10 million would be, so try and put the largest unit out front, that's the 10K, man. And then we need to multiply that by 1K, which is sen. And so to get 10 million, so in Japanese, 10 million is senman. This is how you would write sen. And then this is how you would write man. That said, there's one issue here. So I'm writing all these numbers in hiragana, and of course, you know, in Japanese, you wouldn't write this in hiragana, you would use kanji. Now, I'm not super interested in kanji in general at the moment because I'm focusing on, you know, improving eventually like my listening comprehension skills. With that said though, and by the way, 100 million is just oku. It's very simple. Let's quickly write that and get that out of the way. But I think it would be nice to study this with the kanji. So let's give that a go. So 1,000 would be sen. What does that look like? Oh, by the way, that's not even right. 10,000 is man. Man is 10,000, but you have to, so if you wrote like say 20,000, you could put ni man. This is 2, that's 10,000. But if it's just 10,000 on its own, you have to put a 1 in front, ichiman. So now the question is, how do you write that in kanji? So that is 1 in kanji. So I guess let's try and find out what is man. So this shows us the stroke order. So that's interesting. Red obviously comes first, then orange, then yellow. These diagrams follow something called the rainbow stroke ordering. Kind of helps you even like visually see the order of the strokes. Start at red and work your way down the rainbow. So if you wanted to write 10,000, that's 1. That's, let's see. Was it like this and then that? Should be able to draw that more neatly. Let's take another look. So it's 1. 2, 3. Yeah, I'll give that a pass. 4. I think it looked kind of like a box and then there was something inside. Yeah, okay. Completely wrong, but at least something was along the right lines. So to write 4 in kanji, let's take a look. So this is a stroke order diagram, and in order to write the strokes in the correct order, you just follow the sequence of the rainbow, right? So you start at red, then you go to orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So to write this, we start with the red one, and this is the second stroke, even though it's like 2 lines. 3, 4, and then you wrap it up here, 5. So let's try and do that without the diagram. So it was 1, 2. Was this sideways? I think it was. And then this was kind of like slanted. And then I think that was it. This is diagonal. Okay, one more time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks pretty good to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool. Oof, there's a lot going on here. So the question is as well, what is the pronunciation for these? Because obviously this is zero, but then in Japanese, you have maru, you've got zero, and then you've got rei. I think this bottom one is rei. Let's take a look. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think that means rei. Let's take a look. Let's uncheck random ordering. And let's see. So this is maru, and then that one is rei. Let's see. Okay, so that complicated one is rei. Now that I think about it, this might be another issue, because like if I look here, I wouldn't have a clue what they are pronounced, and so you'd almost want in brackets, or if you hover over it, the pronunciation. So that's something I'll like to fix next time as well. So this is maru, right? It was, I think the slanted stroke came first, then there was that one, and then that one. So let's study this more complicated one, rei. So it's 1, and in order to interpret this diagram, we're once again going to use the rainbow stroke order pattern. So you start at red, work your way down to orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. When you get to violet, and if there are more strokes than 7, you go back to red. So let's zoom in a little bit and try and draw this. Actually, we do need the drawn component visible as well. So let's just leave it like that. So that's the first stroke. And here's, for example, a use case where this stroke order pattern with the colors is useful. We can't actually see the two, but because we know after red comes orange in this rainbow pattern, we know that's the second stroke. So it kind of makes it a bit easier to process this diagram. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4. After green comes blue, okay, so this is 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oof, that's going to be hard to remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's try without looking. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's see how much that matches. That all looks pretty good. except that last stroke, right? That last stroke is a bit of a mess. And then also this goes down too far with respect to that. So okay, let's do it again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This point needs to be, this angle needs to be smaller. One final attempt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. I would say that's a match. Fantastic. So we've successfully written rei. And so there are 3 ways to say 0 in Japanese. The first is rei. I'm just writing it in romaji, right? So that it's kind of easy to read. So the first one is rei. Then there is zero, which is coming from like presumably the English word 0. So that's why it's written in katakana. And then the last one is maru, which is in romaji written like this. And so this, when you write it in kanji, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. More or less. Okay, that was the first one. Then 0 was written like this. So this is set in katakana. When you add dakuten on top, S goes to Z, so this becomes Z. And then ro in katakana is written like that. And then the maru was in kanji. This is the first stroke, that was the second, and then that's the third. Let's just check the stroke order. Yeah, this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's perfect. It's all a match. So we got all 3 of them. My answers matches all 3, but let's just go with the first. So 1 is ichi. If you were to write that in hiragana, this is I, and then this is chi. But what about in kanji? So in kanji, it's just 1 dash. Very simple. 2 is ni. That's how you'd say it. If you were to write it in hiragana, this is ni. But in kanji, I'm pretty sure it's just 2 dashes. Let's take a look. Okay, so that was sort of correct, but notice how the second stroke is wider than the top one, and there's more space. So we can do better than that. Let's try that again. So it was ni, ni, ni. Kanji, hiragana, romaji. There we go. 3 is san. If you were to write that in hiragana, it would be written like that. That's sa, that's n. I'm gonna assume it's just 3 lines. That's correct, but the middle one is the shortest. So this is not quite right. I'm gonna go again. 3 is san, san, san. There we go. 4 is, let's zoom out a bit. 4 is, well, there are 2 ways to say it, right? You have yon and you have shi. And in hiragana, this is yo, this is n, and then this is shi. The number 4 in kanji is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. You can see the stroke order here, following the rainbow pattern, right? You start with red, You work your way down the colors of the rainbow, right? Orange, yellow, green, blue, etc. So red first, then orange, yellow, green, blue. So that's all perfect. Now the one that I don't know, which is the case for all of the ones that come when it comes to the kanji part, but it is go, right? This is the pronunciation. In hiragana, this is how you would write go, but the question is, how would you write this in kanji? Let's take a look. So I think actually it would be easier to show the answer here, because then I can also draw here. So let's clear all. This is the first, second, third, fourth stroke. 4 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I could do that. Let's go again. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not quite right. 1, 2. This crosses over here. Let's try that again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks pretty good. What's 6? So 6 is roku, right? If you were to say it out loud. If you were to write it in hiragana, it's like that. But what is it in kanji? Let's see. So we show our answer. Oh, that's not half bad, you know? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just to jog our memory, 5 was 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. And I could go and try and do more, but let's try and reiterate like what we've learned already. So 0 in Japanese, there are 3 ways to say it. You can say rei, you can say maru, or no, let's put 0 here, and maru. Rei is kind of, if you write this in kanji, it's a bit complicated. It's, I think it was something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, I'm missing one. I think there's a line here down the middle. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay, the 4th stroke is the line down the middle. So let's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's try that again. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I'm missing something. There's 1 here, and then there's that, and then there's this. So that's rei. 0 is very easy, right? This is just set. Apply dakuten on top, becomes ze. And this is, of course, in katakana because this is a loan word. This is ro. So that's the second way. That's the first way. And then 3 is maru, which is 1, 2, 3. That looks like a match to me. That was correct. And so was this. Perhaps to make it a bit more neat, there's way too much space here. So I'm going to draw this one more time, trying to get the proportions right. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That looks a bit better. 1 was simple. To say it, you say ichi. In hiragana, that's written like this. And in kanji, it's just 1 dash. So 2 is pronounced ni. In hiragana, that's how you would write ni. But in kanji, it's written like this. And this bottom stroke is wider than the first one. San, sorry, I'm skipping it. So 3 in Japanese is san. To write this in hiragana, sa would be this. And then this is n, so that's san. But if you want to write it in kanji, it's just 3 lines, which I think is pretty useful. So that would be 3. 4, there are 2 ways to say this. You have yon and you have shi. This is used for counting. So like it's ichi, ni, san, yon. But for example, the 4th month of the year, April, in Japanese is shigatsu. It's not yongatsu. So this is also used. In any case, in hiragana, this is yon. This is n. So this together is yon. And then this is shi. But if you were to write it, there's only one kanji for 4. And that would go like this. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I'm not mistaken, let's submit our answer and take a look. And here we've got this thing called a stroke order diagram. In Japanese, I think it's pretty important to write your Japanese in the correct stroke order. It makes things neat. It makes it faster to write, and the Japanese themselves just kind of insist on the stroke order. So as a beginner, I'm going to follow along. And the way you interpret this diagram is that the strokes have to be written in this kind of rainbow ordering. So you start at red, you work your way down the rainbow, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. If there are more than 7 strokes, you go back to red and continue onwards. And so here, this is the first stroke, that's the second, third, fourth, fifth. 5 was 5. I think it was, well, first of all, if you want to say it, it's go. This is ko in hiragana. And then if you apply these to dakuten strokes, a K becomes a G. So ko becomes go. But we want to know about kanji. So kanji, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And we got to make sure we get this stroke order right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was the correct stroke order. Great. 6. 6 is in Japanese. If you want to say it, it's roku. If you want to write it in hiragana, this is ro, and this is ku. As for kanji, so I literally just learned this a couple of minutes ago. I think it's something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's submit our answer and take a look. Yeah, the proportions could be a bit better. Yeah, and there's a gap here, and these strokes aren't quite long enough. So let's write that one more time a bit more neatly. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a bit better. 7. So I haven't learned the kanji for this, but if you want to say it, there are 2 ways. Nana and shichi. Nana is used when you're counting, so it's ichi, ni, san, yon, go, roku, nana, hachi, and so forth. Shichi is used in other cases. So, for example, July is the 7th month of the year, and it's to say July in Japanese, you don't say nana gatsu, you say shichi gatsu. So you need to know both. If you wanted to write nana in hiragana, it's like this. If you want to write shichi, this is shi, and this would be chi. So let's now learn how to actually write the kanji. I'm learning this with you. So the first is the horizontal stroke, and then the orange stroke kind of coming through like that. Okay. Let's take a look at 8. So that's the first stroke, that's the second. By the way, 8, there's only one way to say this in Japanese, and it's hachi, right? This is ha, and then this is chi, if you wanted to write it in hiragana. And apparently, this is the writing for it in kanji. 9 would be, if you want to say it, there are 2 ways, kyu and ku. This is the one used for counting, so it's ichi, ni, san, yon, go, roku, nana, hachi, kyu, ju, and so forth. But this one, for example, is used for months of the year. So September is the 9th month of the year. So you wouldn't say kyugatsu, you would say kugatsu. So that's an example where this ku is used. To write these two numbers in hiragana, well, the first one, Q, it's a little bit interesting, right? Because it's kind of non-intuitive. You actually write ki, so this is ki. Then you write a half-sized u, but because this u is half-sized, you're looking at something called a hiragana yun combination. So if you see a half-sized ya, yu, or yo, that ya, yu, and yo, or yo, combined with the hiragana before it becomes something called a hiragana yun combination. It's a blended syllable. It's one sound. So it's not ki and yu, it's q. It's a blended sound. So that's worth pointing out. So let's write that again. This is q, and then we just need one more u. So that's q, and then this is ku, which is just one hiragana. The question is, how do you write this? That's crazy because this is just like 0 or maru without this little stroke here. So that's pretty interesting. So it's just this. Wait, let's write that more neatly. So it's 1, 2, and then you add this to turn it into maru. Leave it alone to form the 9. Great. How about 10? So 10 is ju. Let's write that more neatly. Ju. There's only one way to say that in Japanese. This is shi. When you apply dakuten on top, you get ji. Then you have this half-sized u. Together they form a blended sound, ju. And then you add this extra u. This is how we would write 10 in hiragana. But just to kind of demonstrate, what I'm currently doing is like, imagine if I was writing this 10 plus 7. No one actually does math like this. They 17. This is just strange. What people do in English is they write 10 plus 7 equals 17, like this. So that's why we need these kanji to kind of write our numbers like normal people do in Japanese. That's very simple. It's just a cross. I assume the horizontal stroke comes first, and I was right because it's written in red. Red comes first in our order. So let's try and remember all the kanji. So 0 was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's rei. This is rei. The proportions are not great, but it is correct. And then maru, which is also a way of saying 0, was 1, 2, 3. Just like 9, but you have this little thing at the end. So that's all 0. And then 1 was, okay, this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. So that's nice, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 dashes. Then 4, it just completely changes. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strokes here. That's 4. What was 5 again? 5 was this number. That's 5. 6 was this. That's 6. 7 was... Oh, that's tricky, I forgot 7, I forgot 8, but 9, I do remember because it's just like 0 without this little dash at the end, and then 10 is across. So the question is, what is 7 and 8? Okay, so this is 7, and then 8 is this. 8 in kanji. Looks like there are a couple of different kind of fonts for 8 in Japanese. Interesting. So this was 10. Fantastic, job done. What is 100? Oh, there's a lot going on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see. Let's draw that one more time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But this dash is kind of, it's to the side. 4, 5, 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. What's 1,000? So 1,000 in Japanese is pronounced sen. If you wanted to write that in hiragana, it would be written like that. But what is the kanji? Okay. 1, 2, 3. It's the other way around. Okay. So the stroke order is you start in the top right, then you go left. Makes sense. Okay, so that's 1,000. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4,000, like that. Man, or ichiman, in fact, is 10,000 in Japanese. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Okay. That's ichi, and that's man. What's annoying, or at least confusing to me, is that this stroke comes first. So I know this one. 100,000 is 10k times 10 in Japanese, which is ju man. And ju was a cross, and then man was was this thing, wasn't it? That was 1,000. That thing is 10,000. Almost had it. So that's 10. And then this is 10,000. So a million is 100 times 10k. This would be 100. And then 10k would be, it was this thing, wasn't it? The stroke order is very confusing to me. I really can't fathom why you would have this stroke before that one. But that is correct. Let's just try and do that one more time. So this would be 100, and then this that's the 10k. Fantastic. 10 million is just 10k times 1k. 1k was this thing. And then this is 10k. Job done. Let's try and draw that neatly one more time. So it was 1, 2, 3. That's a k. Sen. And then man was 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so 100 million is oku. Oku. The question is, what is it in kanji? Oh, that looks pretty involved. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is crazy. What are those strokes at the end? Is that really correct? It is. So what was it? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, something like this. Let's try and do that properly. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that looks pretty neat. A billion is just going to be 10 lots of 100 million. It's 10 times 100 million. This is ju, and this is oku. So a billion would be pronounced ju oku in Japanese. And then in kanji, that is 10. And then that is more or less 100 million. I think I got it, you know? That's ridiculous. I wrote a billion. Okay, so now I'm gonna do one more round of this, and then I'll probably call it a day. So, oku, oku, o, ku, oku. So this is the kanji for 100 million in Japanese. I'm practicing how to count. And let's submit our answer. And what we're especially going to take note of is the colors here. So when you write kanji in Japanese, you need to write them in the correct stroke order. To kind of make the ordering clear, each stroke is color-coded. You start with red, you work your way down this rainbow ordering: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And then when you get past the 7th stroke, you go back to red. So this would be number 8, 9, 10, and so forth. And I would say that I smashed that. That was correct. Fantastic. So then what is 1 million? So in Japanese, so if we've got English here and Japanese here, when you're counting in English, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then 13, the first part of that, the third, kind of comes from 3, right? 14, that 4, you've already counted that when you were counting from 1 to 10, and so forth. 20, 30, 40, 50, it's all using words you've already heard before. But then when you get to 100, all of a sudden it's a new word. 100, it's got nothing to do with the previous 99 numbers. Same with 1,000, it's got nothing to do with the previous 999 numbers. Same with a million, and same with a billion. Japanese has the same thing, but the jumps are a little bit different, right? So hyaku is the same, right? That's 100. Sen is 1,000. So far so good. It's the same as in English. But then you get ichiman, which is 10K. So they don't say 10 lots of 1,000. They've got their own word for 10K, separate from 10 and 1,000. And then finally you have oku, which is 100 million. So 1 million in Japanese is gonna just be 10K times 100. 100 lots of 10K. Because 100 times 10K is a million. But you might be wondering, why don't you say 1K times 1K? And the reason for that is in Japanese, this number here has to be the largest number or unit that can fit inside a million. And so oku, which is 100 million, isn't going to fit in here. But if you have to choose between 1,000 and 10,000, 10,000 is the bigger one, so that's going to come first. And then the number before it is just going to be whatever multiple is required to turn 10K into a million. So A million is therefore 100万 and not sen. This is how you would write 100, and man was this. 10,000 is the one we just saw. Oh yeah, it's ichi man, so you have to write this ichi, and then this. But yeah, I was pretty close. 2 is just this, pronounced ni. 0 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's rei. If you want maru, that's written like this. Oh, I was almost there, but there's a crossover here, so that's not quite right. So this is supposed to be like that. 1, 2, 3. Let's just check this. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I get that correct? What did I do? I wrote this, this, that, that. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Give that a pass. 7. Oh, 7. This was 8. What was 7? Ah, that's annoying. Okay, let's try and do that. So it was this and then that. Is that right? On the dash comes first and it okay. So 7 in kanji is like that. Great. A billion is just gonna be oku, ju oku. So it's 10 times 100 million to form a billion. And 10 is very simple, it's just a cross. And then oku is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Job done. You know, I kind of feel like this stroke order actually makes it also easy to remember. 5 is go. Go, that's it in hiragana. Go is 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So if I take my answer, that's correct. 1 is ichi. Ichi, like this. And written like that in kanji. 6 is roku, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. 100 is hyaku, written like that. 10 million is going to be 10k times 1k. 1k is sen. This is man. So 10 million is pronounced senman. And man, the kanji for that was this one. And the kanji for sen was this. So this is going to be our answer. This is how you would write 10 million in Japanese. And you can see that's a match. 9. What is 9 in Japanese? So 9 is Q, pronounced Q. And the way that I remember this is, so maru, which is one of the ways that you can say 0 in Japanese, the stroke order for it is this: 1, 2, 3. If you miss that last part, you get 9. So this is our answer. 1, 2, job done. how about 8? So 8 is hachi in Japanese. If you wanted to write that in hiragana, this is ha. This is chi. If you wanted to write it in kanji, they're different like kind of fonts and styles, but this is essentially how you'd write it. 3 is in Japanese, it's pronounced sun. If you wanted to write that in hiragana, sun is 1, 2, 3. This is sa, and then this is en. So together it's sun. And then in kanji, that's 3. Just to kind of explain, like, this is essentially what I'm doing here is, I'm writing these first 2 lines is like me writing 3 like this using the European alphabet. Whilst the last one, it's like I'm writing the number 3. That leaves us with 4, yon or shi, written like this in hiragana, written like that in kanji. Let's try and wrap up these last 2. This is 10, and 100,000 is 10 times 10k. This is 10, and 10k is 1, 2, 3. Job done. What's 1,000? 1,000 is sen. Sen. But then in kanji, that would be 1, 2, 3, like that. So I think that's the perfect place to end today's stream. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. That would really help support the channel. And it would also help me to continue, working on this website that we're using, lingocommand.com. But in any case, I will see y'all next time. Thank you for watching.